Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices is made possible in part by Allstate and the Searle Funds at the Chicago Community Trust.
Good evening and welcome to Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices. I'm Marissa Parra, reporter with CBS 2 Chicago. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. On the show tonight, President Joe Biden made a lot of promises on immigration policy before he was elected, but has he delivered on them in his first year in office? The Ballet Folklórico de México is bringing its greatest hits back to Chicago next week. We have a sneak peek. And African rhythms and sounds are an indelible part of Latin music. We get some recommendations on Afro-Latino artists from music journalist Sandra Trevino.
That's spicy, has limon and has a little bit of salt, which means it's purposeful, kind of for a hangover.
And a local husband and wife team is looking to bring their version of a classic Mexican cocktail to your refrigerator. First off tonight, Illinois officials welcomed 472 new Americans in a naturalization ceremony earlier this week in Chicago. In his remarks, Governor J.B. Pritzker hearkened back to his great-grandfather's immigration to America and reflected on the circumstances that bring immigrants from around the world to the United States. Last year, President Joe Biden also recalled the journey of his ancestors to this country as he welcomed new citizens at the White House. In his speech, President Biden ticked off some of the ways he planned to evolve immigration policy, including improving border management, securing pathways to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, including Dreamers, farm workers, and those on temporary protective status, and helping stabilize conditions causing people to flee to the U.S. from Central American countries. Joining us now to discuss this with more are Ruben Loyo, Associate Director of the Detention Project at the National Immigrant Justice Center, Jaime Dominguez, a political science professor at Northwestern University, and Dulce Ortiz, Executive Director of Mano a Mano Family Resource Center. Dulce, we'll start with you. How would you compare the Biden administration's campaign and inauguration rhetoric with his performance so far on immigration policy?
I would say overall, if I could grade it, I would give it an F. An F for failure to deliver on his promises. He campaigned on making immigration a priority in the first 100 days of his administration. And here we are over a year later and still nothing. This is unacceptable. This was an issue that he campaigned on and has so far been unable to deliver, as well as losing the minimum wage increase and voting rights. That doesn't help either.
Really strong words there. Jaime, I'm curious, what do you think? Biden started out by reversing several Trump-era policies. So in your estimation, did that set up expectations for future action?
I'm sure it did. It tried to create the momentum. I think that the fervor was there from his administration to actually do something with immigration reform. And listen, immigration is very difficult. It's cumbersome. I mean, the last three presidential administrations have not been able to move the needle on comprehensive immigration reform because it requires, Congress to actually, put teeth into any type of legislation. The president, is only he's limited. Biden has been limited in that, for example, when he came in, he sought to, for example, through executive order, right? He halted the construction of the border at the wall, the border in our southern region. But again, it's going to take Congress to actually do something with respect to immigration reform. It's not for lack of effort. I think it's just there's a lot of these structural barriers that are preventing Biden from moving forward. But I think he's moving the needle. For example, he's definitely lifted some restrictions on legal immigration. So he's pushed a lot on just making green cards just more readily available. Also, I think he's talked about increasing the diversity visa program, which ex-President Trump tried to eliminate. So I think he has the vision to move progressively on immigration. But again, it's very difficult for him to do it on his own.
Ruben, to you now. Your organization is part of a campaign demanding that ICE Director Sylvie Renda release the individuals who remain in immigration detention here in Illinois. What do you think of the Biden administration's actions so far on immigration detention policy?
So I actually think the growth and what we've seen in the immigration detention system is one of the most difficult and salient examples of some of the broken commitments that we've seen under this administration. So as you know, in light of new legislation in Illinois that essentially ends immigration detention in the state, the community has been asking ICE to release those individuals. And this was an opportunity for the administration and ICE to consider its use of detention. And though we've seen some people being released, as we speak, we've also been learning of clients and other individuals who have been transferred to detention facilities as far away as Oklahoma and Texas. And this is occurring in the midst of an ongoing pandemic. What we're seeing here at the local level is illustrative of what we're seeing at the national level. There's definitely more this administration can do to rethink and end some of its most draconian measures and policies.
Dulce, to you now. Obviously, everyone here has some pretty strong opinions, but from your perspective, what is the most urgent immigration policy issue the Biden administration could address here?
For me, this is deeply personal. There's huge opportunity for a meaningful win on immigration. I mean, as someone that has loved ones living in the shadows because they're undocumented, just not being able to pass relief for our immigrants. I mean, he can certainly do it through regular order or budget reconciliation. And again, he hasn't been able to do that, which is a huge disappointment. But we have to remember there are 11 undocumented sisters and brothers in this country. And the administration before him failed our communities by not passing a pathway to citizenship. And so far, this President Biden, his administration, they really have failed the mark. It's super important, that he and Congress get it together. I mean, you can point fingers or be more specific, like Senator Manchin or the Senate. But this is an issue of leadership, and he has to get his party together and provide immigration relief by passing a pathway to citizenship so that, we can have our loved ones come out of the shadows and be able to enjoy life and not be traumatized by continuing to be undocumented.
Well, we know Illinois is a blue state. Jaime, I'm curious, do you think the political will exists across the rest of the country to push Biden further left on immigration policy, especially as midterm elections get closer?
I think that's the challenge right now, because it's the midterm elections. Elected officials are just concerned about whether or not they're going to be able to remain in office, and so for them, immigration reform can be for lack of a better word, a hot potato. So for them, if it's going to perhaps present challenges with their constituencies in terms of either lending less support to their candidacy, then they're going to do what most elected officials do, and they're going to move in the opposite direction. So I think that there's support, I think, within the Democratic Party to do something. But at the same time, I think that the Republicans, the fact that they're more than likely are going to take one of the two houses, if not both, then I think it's going to be very difficult going forward to actually do something on the legislative front, which is where everything that we're discussing here tonight has to be done legislatively if any kind of measure is going to have teeth. Because to do it through this piecemeal kind of executive order by different administrations, it's very difficult to have a cohesive program and a policy, right, that's going to be able to address, for example, the 11 million undocumented, also to address the status of dreamers, et cetera.
Okay, we have just under a minute here. So, Ruben, want to ask you one question in a minute. Is a year into Biden's term enough time to judge his performance on immigration issues? Is it enough time to really make that meaningful change that people are looking for?
I think it is. There are a number of concrete and obvious opportunities here, and it's not too late to change course here. I mean, for example, with the growing court docket and the immigration court system, this is an obvious and clear opportunity for DHS and ICE to reconsider proceeding with so many deportation cases at this moment. And I think those opportunities abound in the system.
Well, our thanks to Ruben Loyo, Jaime Dominguez, and Dulce Ortiz. Thanks for spending time with us. Up next, meet a husband and wife duo and their take on a classic Mexican cocktail. Nearly 1 in 5 U.S. adults abstained from drinking throughout the first month of the year, a movement you might know as Dry January. This according to an analysis done by the company Morning Consult. If you were among those sober folks, congratulations, you made it. Now, if you want to make it to a tipsy February, a local business is bringing its version of a classic Mexican tipple to liquor stores near you. Producer Erica Gunderson stopped by to stir it up with the team behind Big Meech.
I love micheladas. I've been drinking them, since way before I should have been drinking them.
As a restaurant industry veteran, Javi Garcia has mixed more than his share of the beer and tomato juice cocktails better known as micheladas from behind the bar.
It's spicy, has limon, and has a little bit of salt, which means it's purposeful, kind of for a hangover. Just big, bright, traditional Mexican flavors.
Now, Garcia wants to bring his Big Meech michelada mixes to your family's refrigerator.
It was definitely a leap, right? To tell your wife I want to quit my job and sell tomato juice, on the streets.
Garcia says years of restaurant work had him ready to mix it up professionally. With his wife Natalie's encouragement, he quit his job in 2017 and used his last paycheck to start hand blending micheladas in their basement.
And I bought all the mason jars they had at Menards, and I went to Costco and I bought all the limes they had at Costco, and we invested all the $600, and we tried to prove concept. And that first weekend we made $1,000.
Garcia says word spread quickly, and the increasing demand allowed him to officially launch Big Meech later the same year, selling to local liquor stores. Solis joined the company in 2018 and added a dash of friends and family to expand the team. Now, Big Meech is building a distinctly Mexican identity for their growing product line.
We wanted to kind of take our likes, our interests, and what we like what other brands do and put it to our brand, which is ultimately a Latino Mexican brand.
For this year, we want to highlight the moments that a family shares, our traditions, our cultures, and our family gatherings, and how we, as a brand, live within those moments.
And they say the main ingredient of that identity is freshness.
Being a Latino, we know what great food tastes like. We know what fresh food tastes like.
We try to, chop it, puree it all in-house, so we could kind of control where it is. All of our chile is, dehydrated locally. It's blended here in-house.
We aren't afraid to spend a little bit more if it means that we're going to get the freshest product and produce out there. Luckily, we live in Chicago, where we can drive down to Little Village or Pilsen and find some really quality, products from Mexico.
Last year, Big Meech made a big move. They took production from the back room of a Cicero grocery store to this facility in suburban Willowbrook.
With the goal from being here in this warehouse is to just allow our company to keep growing.
With space to stretch out, they're hoping to compete with the big beverage brands while still taking care of the family-owned stores that gave them their start.
The mom and pop stores really care about what's on their shelves. That's real estate space for them. So we want to make sure that we're putting some quality product on there. But on top of that, also giving them that white glove service.
And Garcia and Solis say that no matter how big Big Meech gets, they'll always be in it pa la gente.
People are really proud to say, look, I just bought this jar of Big Meech. I'm going to share it on my Snapchat, my Instagram, my Facebook, so that people know this is what I drink. The fact that people do it so willingly and they just share the love, I'm just really ecstatic about that.
Cheers. Salud.
For Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, this is Erica Gunderson.
By the way, even if you don't drink, Big Meech says their products can be enjoyed with non-alcoholic seltzers and beers as well. They call it the Michelada. You'll find more Big Meech on our website. Up next, Mexico's history and culture reflected in an upcoming performance. Stay with us. Ballet Folclórico de México de Amelia Hernandez is celebrating its 70th anniversary this year, and the party is coming here to Chicago. The Mexico City-based ensemble is bringing together audience-favorite dances that traverse the history and culture of Mexico, and 2 performances at the Auditorium Theater next week. Joining us now with more is Ballet Folklórico Artistic Director Viviana Basanta. Viviana is the daughter of Amalia Hernandez, who founded the dance ensemble. Viviana, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to talk more about this. We do know this performance takes the audience throughout Mexico's history, from the Aztec era to modern day and across its different regions. So can you give us a taste of what we can expect to see?
Yes, well, thank you for the invitation. We love to go to the art city, Chicago. We really like it because we always think that Chicago has art everywhere you look. So I think it's a special time with our anniversaries of the 70th anniversary. So we are really happy and proud to be with you in Chicago.
Well, we're getting a little taste on the screen there of the bright colors and images. You've included two dances that have been declared intangible heritage of humanity by UNESCO, La Charreada and Danza Lerbenada. How did you translate these historical dances into ballet for the stage?
Well, yes, we have a few dances. I choose the program with the choreographies that my mother made in different times of the company. So one of the first choreographies is Ballet de Michoacán, Sones Antiguos de Michoacán. It's called Sones, Old Songs from Michoacán. And the other one is Al Ballet Azteca, is an honor to Moctezuma. And then after a few years, she made the Charreada, also Sones de Tarima de Tixla, also Veracruz. Every composition is from different stages of her choreography heritage.
That's just incredible. Well, for those who don't know, the music is performed live by the Ballets Ensemble and brings in the different musical traditions from across Mexico. So, Viviana, how do these traditional sounds incorporate into the performances?
Well, all the music is traditional. Some of them, they make some arranges to make it more dynamic or more accents and more so that the performance go with a different kind of dynamics. It goes up, it comes down. So it was solos, then a big group, and then again solos. So the music is music of each region. My mother always liked to go to each region to learn. She didn't learn steps in a room. She always made a whole investigation of each part of the choreographies that she made. Also the pre-Hispanic that we don't have now alive, the steps that she made with anthropologists, ethnography, and historic persons that help her to make the whole composition. So she make the movements from the codices, Mexican codices, and from one image to another, she make the movement.
Well, we talked about how bright and colorful these costumes are. When it comes to traditional dress, is it easy to bring those recognizably Mexican costumes to dance performances?
Well, we have to do with the public and trying to make them feel the emotions and the different dynamics, and also the heritage of the culture, all the profound history, that everything comes from the root to our days. So I think we have a lot of different language to share with with the public.
Well, once again, Ballet Folklórico de Mexico will be at the Auditorium Theater on February 12th and 13th. You'll find more on that on our website. You can see that little piece of history for yourself. And our special thanks to Viviana Basanta.
I thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation, and we're really proud to be in Chicago.
When West Africans were enslaved in Latin American countries, they brought their musical traditions with them. Combined with indigenous and Spanish traditions, the beats and rhythms of West Africa gave rise to the music forms that still get us on the dance floor today. cumbia, bachata, samba. While Afro-Latino musicians have not always been given their due, music journalist Sandra Trevino thinks that tide is beginning to turn. Here, Trevino gives a few recommendations for Afro-Latino artists you may want to add to your next playlist.
The influence of African music and African traditions and culture can be found throughout all of the Americas in every single kind of music that exists across the world. Celia Cruz, La Lupe, El General, and Perez Prado are among some of the artists that I think of right away when thinking of Afro-Latino music. I think artists from Afro-Latino artists especially are embracing their roots, their cultures, and their traditions, and combining it with modern sounds. Combo Chimbita hails from New York, and they explore Afro-Caribbean rhythms and traditions like sacred drumming. Combined with Carolina's voice, they call it tropical futurism. They have a new album out. It's called Ire. It addresses systemic racism, capitalist decadence, and the attempted erasure of trans and queer folks. Nova Lima is considered a pioneering Afro-Peruvian sound system, and even though their music is modern, it is influenced by the music created when African slaves were brought to Peru in the early 1500s, where they established the African diaspora in South America. Their latest single is a remix of Julieta Venegas and Dom La Nena's ¿Quién podrá saberlo? Los Racas, yo sí soy Raca. They are a duo of Panamanian cousins, Raca Rich and Raca Dune. They combine hip-hop, reggae, reggaeton, plena, and dancehall music. They have a new single out with Big Stan, and it's called Voy por ti.
Y aunque me digan que no, que solo me utilizas, yo les digo que no. Será porque eres linda que estoy ciego, mi amor. Por ti lo diera todo, ese mi gran error.
Producer and filmmaker and DJ Higwe is a fierce proponent of Afro-Cuban rhythms and sounds. He calls himself a Guajiro Afro-Espacial and refers to his music as tropical Afrofuturism. I recommend a compilation called Havana Cultura Súbelo Cuba, which was produced by Giles Peterson, and you can find his music online. Betsaida Machado is from the small village of El Clavo in Venezuela, and along with her group of friends called Parranda El Clavo, they create music that focuses on the Afro soul genre known as tambor, which combines her vocals with danceable polyrhythms. They have an album that you could look at called Loe Loa, Rural Recordings Under the Mango Tree, which features 17 singers and 12 percussionists.
El 30 de agosto voy a celebrar y a mi Santa Rosa le voy a cantar. El 30 de agosto voy a celebrar y a mi Santa Rosa le voy a cantar.
If any of what you just heard made you want to dance, you can find a list of Trevino's recommendations on our website. And that's our show for this weekend. Be sure to check out our website, WTTW.com/news, for the very latest from WTTW News, including why some researchers are calling for a clinical trial to study CBD's effectiveness in preventing COVID-19. And if you're watching us on Saturday night, know that you can catch Latino Voices and Black Voices on Sundays beginning at 10 p.m. You can also catch my reporting on CBS 2 Chicago. Next week on Latino Voices, Michael Puente with WBEZ Chicago will be here in the host chair. Now, from all of us here at Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, I'm Marissa Parra. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy, stay safe, and good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a personal injury law firm pleased to give back to the community through numerous charitable initiatives.